What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a reaction to the Protomen and their self-titled debut album brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter, and patron of the channel, River. Thank you, River. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. We absolutely could not do it without them. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out that Patreon link below or the patron link on the end screen. All right, River says the Protomen are an American rock band from Tennessee. I'll get into much more of that. We're going to do this album this month and then Act 2 next month. I don't want to spoil the album at all. However, I'll give you some of my favorite songs by the Protomen as you're going to get both of their main albums. Top 3 songs for me in no particular order, and they won't all be on this album. Keep Quiet, The Stand, Man or Machine, and Light Up the Night. All right, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to get into some quick facts. I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about the video game series that it's based on. I only played sports games back in the day and like bigger arcade games, but so I'm going to do the best I can. There's a lot of information on their second album out there in the research world. I've already researched that. There's not a lot of information on this one, but start with the Protomen first. They're an American rock band who started their career composing concept albums loosely based on the video game series Megaman, which this one is. So it's on Mega Man. Their stage names are largely references to pop culture films, song titles, and fictional characters. The group members refer to themselves as storytellers creating a rock and roll fable. So, in other words, kind of a quasi-rock opera. The band's composed mostly of MTSU recording program graduates, Middle Tennessee State University, and originated in order to meet class deadlines and the need to record for their grades. Their first live performance was in April 2004. Most of the band had graduated and moved to Nashville by 2005. In a 2009 interview, lead vocalist Panther stated, "We basically gathered up all of our good friends from the local rock bands of Murfreesboro, tied ourselves together and tried to walk. And somehow it worked. At the time, we noticed a void in rock and roll, a hole that could only really be filled with grown men and women painting up like robots and playing some fierce and furious rock music based on a 1980s video game. We're fairly certain no one else was going to fill that hole, but by God, it's filled now. You can thank us later." All right, let's get to this album. In the band's first album, Dr. Wily is represented as an Orwellian ruler over a dystopic city full of humans who are too scared to stand up to his control. Dr. Light creates a, quote, perfect man and unbeatable machine, Protoman, to fight to free the city. But Protoman is destroyed by the overwhelming power of Wily's armies. Defeated and despairing, Dr. Light then creates a second son, Megaman, who he attempts to dissuade from battle. Megaman runs away from home and confronts his brother in an apocalyptic concluding battle. The album has been described by the band as, quote, the sound of the end of the world, and straddles the line between chiptune and hard rock with heavier focus on distorted 8-bit synths and electronic instrumentation. Band member Commander has stated that the album, quote, was made specifically to go against everything our recording teachers and fellow students were trying to feed us about making everything sound pristine and perfect, end quote. The album was recorded over 2 years in various Murfreesboro studios using analog rather than digital production techniques. The album was produced by then Protomen member Heath, who hath no name. The group has cited the influence of artists like Sid Mead, films like Eddie and the Cruisers, a fantastic movie from maybe 1982-ish in there, and Streets of Fire, maybe that was 84. Books like 1984 and Atlas Shrugged. Those are the pretty obvious ones you can pull out of Acts 1 and Act 2. What you might not realize is that we own every Ernest movie ever made and we watch them all the time. The band draws inspiration from diverse sources, including Sergio Leone's films, the song, the Mexican and musical groups Radiohead, big fan back there, Styx, Toto, Queen, and Alabama. All tracks are written by the Protomen. If you haven't been listening before, the music will not be in the video, but it will be at a Vimeo link below, so click on that. Follow along with us. Let's kick this thing off with the first track. And all these are kind of have a chapter, like it says one, but one, Hope Rides Alone. So I've got some notes on these songs that I've kind of collected through different research methods. But like I said, there's not a lot on this album. I'm going to do my best to follow along. I do not know the video game series, so I'm going in blind. So if you do, and you probably do because that's why you're watching, understand I don't, but we'll hammer this thing out. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, River. Okay, Hope Rides Alone. I mean, I don't know what to comment as a song. It's more just a narration building the tale, right? It's kind of the intro. But in verse 3, they do start singing through that in the outro. Basically what's going on, kind of telling you how Dr. Wily's ruling the world, They tell us that in the song and the narration, but there's also lyric notes. So it's kind of a strange thing. I've never seen anything like this. It's built into the lyrics. I'm going to show you in a minute what I'm talking about because I used the website Genius to look at all my lyrics, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But it's built into it's almost like you're reading a book that's setting the stage before the actors come out. You know, if you're watching a play or reading a book before the main characters are setting the scene. So that happens, though, not just at the start, it happens in between everything. So I'll show you in a minute. And River let me know to look at that, but it's actually built into the Genius lyrics. But basically, I think Dr. Light works for Wiley's government, and these robots are ruling the world. And so Dr. Light wants to free the world. So he spends all these years, 12 years, I think, building Protomen, and then he comes to do the battle, and all the people who are being ruled over watch it, but no one will jump in and help Protomen. So not good. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. So you'll see what I'm talking about here, like when you look at the narrator comes in, then there's a lyric note, like building up things. Then there's more what the narrator says, another lyric note. So see, these are not said anywhere. Another, like showing the battle. This is the battle, Protoman against the people, or against the robots. And then, so that's kind of how it works. So I'm obviously not going to show you all that, but I am getting more of the story by being able to process that. So, all right, let's go to song 2, which is pretty much self-explanatory. A funeral for a son, because Protoman was not successful against the robots. All right, so, I mean, if you weren't working at the liner notes, this album would make no sense to you, right? You got to work to really understand this album. But there's a ton of lyric notes here. So basically, Protoman is dead. The people who were cowards, it says, were carrying his helmet through the town. And Dr. White is obviously upset about this. He feels this rage building up inside him. He's going to destroy the laboratory, but instead, almost without his own will, he starts building something else. It's Mega Man. And then we understand years passed, nothing changed. The people seem content to suffer under Dr. Wily and the robot army. But in whispers, they still spoke of Protoman. Eventually, Mega Man, so he's already been built, would find out the truth. Dr. Light knew this. When Mega Man was old enough, Light called him into the workshop and began to explain, and then we get the ... which takes us to song number 3, which on the chapters, 2A is Funeral for a Son, and 2B is Unrest in the House of Light. So these songs kind of go together. Okay, Unrest in the House of Light. That one was definitely inspired by Sergio Leone and the spaghetti westerns. Right? And this one has very few lyric notes. This is the first traditional song, right? This is the first traditional song in here. And basically, Dr. Light's telling Mega Man the story of his brother. And Mega Man even, I think in the lyric notes, it tells me there's one has a tear in his eye, runs out, looks at the city, and then he tears out past him because he is going to go and avenge his brother. And Mega Man can't understand why Dr. Light doesn't want revenge, why he's just accepted this. At the very end, Dr. Light's yelling at him, "You cannot win." So that was well done. Now we're going to get to the 4th song of chapter 3, The Will of One. All right, The Will of One. So Mega Man starts, his perspective on this. I've watched the city burn, but if I stay with you, they will never know, telling Dr. Light. Dr. Light said, "Do not say this is how it has to be." And then Mega Man talking about walking through the streets and the people watch him as they pass. They're frightened. They don't like Dr. Wiley, but they won't try to break his grasp. Do not say how this is how it has to be. You do know better than the fools of this burning city, Dr. White tells him. And then we get a little lyric note where Mega Man's going through the city to Protoman's grave, and he gets there, and then you get a little bridge of Mega Man and Dr. White both talking. Dr. White, someone's not even safe here. Then we get the chorus, "Alone, Hope rides alone." And then we get another lyric note where Mega Man is running through the city to the fortress of Dr. Wily. And then the speaker is always putting out stuff. So this good old 1984, influence here. Speaker's always telling the people stuff, the loudspeaker. And so Mega Man's going back and forth with it. And then that human choir, "We have control. We keep you safe. We are your hope." The brainwashing. So that's going to take us to the second half of the album, chapter 4, Vengeance. Okay, this one's pretty simple, although there's a surprise twist at the end. So he's going against all the armies. He's going against all these robots. He's getting rid of them easily. He tells them, "Go back and tell your leader we need more men." So it's not Dr. Wiley he's going against. I learned this through reading. It's actually the second in command, the commander of the army. So he's not trying to get to Dr. Wiley. He's trying to get to the commander of the armies. Go back and tell him you need more. So it's going through all this stuff. And at the very end, the face comes out. He's just everybody's dead, and he's just got the leader of the army, and the leader of the army comes out, and it's a face he's seen in visions and all these things. It's actually his brother Protomen, who he thought was dead. So let's carry on with the story. That was quite the twist. And we got The Stand, Man or Machine, which, if you remember at the start, was one of Rivers' favorite songs off the first two albums. Okay, The Stand, Man or Machine. Dr. Light is there as well. And Protoman is just telling Mega Man, look, because all the people have gathered now, and they want to watch this fight, and they want Mega Man to save him. But Protoman says, see, Protoman pushes his way to the front, says, any of you want to stand up to me? And he's telling his brothers, telling Mega Man, look, you see, like, none of them really they don't want a hero, they want a martyr. They just want to raise a statue of you, and they don't want to fight for themselves. And you see, it's not worth fighting for. You're going to learn what I learned. And Mega Man kneeled immediately at the start of the song. Like, you don't get that because it's in the lyrics, no. But at the end, he rises up. He's got his weapon down to his side, though. So I think we're about to get it. I thought this was the first song where they did a really good job with the instrumentation building on the story. This is their first album. This is quite the undertaking to take on a first album of understanding those things. So I think on this song, they were definitely getting there. Next up, 7th song, but chapter 6, we got Sons of Fate. It's over 8 minutes long, 8 hours long, would be quite the song. It's over 8 minutes long, so I have a feeling this is really going to play out in some drama. All right, Sons of Fate. So a lot obviously goes on in this song. They built the instrumentation. It's probably too long. Didn't need to be 8 minutes and 12 seconds, but it wasn't a bad song by any means, but tells the story. And you got to look at the lyrics notes on some of this too, but they end up fighting. Mega Man strikes Proto Man down, and he doesn't go and kill him totally. He's dying anyway, but he runs over next to him, and they're talking, and the people are all watching. Destroy him. You can save us. You're our only hope. Kill Proto Man. And as he's dying, Protoman whispers in his brother's ear, if these people tell this story to their children as they sleep, maybe someday they'll see a hero. It's just a man who knows he is free. I thought that was great lyricism there. And then the lyric note tells you Protoman was dead. The crowd seemed pleased. Mega Man finally understand there are no heroes left in man. And then gets to the human choir in Mega Man. He could not save himself. How could he save us for all the blood he shed? And then you get the call and response from Mega Man to the human choir. And then Mega Man removed his helmet, walked away from the forest. This is all in the lyric notes. Or from the fortress, walked away. The remaining robots looked at their leader, then at Mega Man. Without orders, they would neither advance or retreat. So eventually Dr. Wily tells them to kill all the people that were around. Mega Man doesn't even look back. He just keeps on walking. So the robots kill all the people who were there to see the bloodshed anyway. And the sound that finally made Mega Man pause long enough to look around, this also just in the lyrics notes. On the burning city was the voices raised over the den, chanting almost in unison, we are the dead, ah, we are the dead. Now we come to the last track, Do Vendetta. It's titled Epilogue, Do Vendetta. I do have a little bit of info on this one. It's the first song written and recorded by the Protomen, specifically Commander B. Hawkins, who came up with the lyrics while lying in bed with Mega Man on the brain after a rushed last-minute recording session or college project. He said at 12:02 a.m. I'm lying awake and hearing the beat, and the only thing that can go through my brain at the time is Cut Man, Guts Man, all in like a gritty southern accent, and it was just hammering me. All I wanted to do was sleep, but I couldn't because these damn characters were in my head, and this horrible song is ruining my life. So that's what became the lyrics. Afterwards, this song made the college's listening night and apparently did well with the audiences. The next semester, Commander decided to expand the project and eventually forming the basis of this entire album. So the last thing came first. All right, Epilogue, Do Vendetta. We get the game over at the end, and it's just him saying out all the different characters that are in the Mega Man series. He says Rock at the end, and I saw that Rockman is the Japanese title for the Mega Man series, as well as Mega Man's real name in universe. So, it was fine. It was kind of more that, studio digitized stuff. You could tell the 8-bit stuff was really prevalent. This one was the first one that they ever did. All right, now we're going to get to my favorite tracks. Honorable mention, I'll go Unrest in the House of Light. It was the third song in there. It's kind of the spaghetti western type. And then my favorite was The Stand, Man or Machine. River was definitely right on that one. Now we're going to get to my overall score. This is an interesting one. So, you're going to kind of guess what I'm going to say here, because remember, 10's a perfect score. I think I'm giving 4 or 5 ever. Like ever. I'm hard on my grading. because you kind of got to be. If you're too easy, then everything slides too high to the scale. There's not enough differentiation. But if you got a bunch of 10s, more power to you. No judgment here. It's whatever works for you. But so 5 is an average album. This album has issues for me. I like the story. Going through it the way I did, I definitely enjoyed it. I'm like, what's going to happen next? Not knowing the video game series, it held my attention. I think there's a couple problems with it. Number one, it's the first album they ever did. So they're trying to find their way, right? And there's some great concept albums out there. There's some fantastic concept albums out there. And I've reviewed a lot of the fantastic concept albums. The problem with this one is you got to read all the lyrics notes in between. And that just doesn't really work to be able to put on an album, listen to it. You got to work. Now, I did the work because of the way I'm doing this. And it worked for me because I understood everything that went on. But it's not going to work for you if you just put this on and listen to it. So even if you know the Mega Man story, I don't think it's going to work for you. It may. I don't know. But so that's the issue with it. I think there could have been a better way of even having the narrator come back in and keep setting the scene in the parts where you just got to read the liner notes. But so for that reason, they recorded over 2 years. They're doing what they can. It's their first album, right? So I'm not trying to throw shade at these guys. So at that, I'm going to be right at a 5. That's an average album. Like, it works in the parts. It works. You can see they have some promise. I know the next album is much higher acclaim. It is actually a prequel to this one, and it's much longer as well. So I am looking forward to that one. And I did enjoy this one. It's just, we got some, first shot out of the gate. We got some things to work out. But thank you to River for bringing me this one. Let me know what you think below. I can take it, man. If you think I'm totally wrong, come at me. I can take it, man. But appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, I will see you.